Welcome to part two of the lesson 4 heterotroph series in module 2, the organization of living things. In this video, we're going to be focusing on the digestive systems of heterotrophs, and we're going to be able to differentiate between physical and chemical digestion, but also some of the different models of ways of which we can have a digestive system organized. So there are 5 things which all our diets need to live and grow and develop, and those are carbohydrates, lipids, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals. And these are all crucial to the survival of living things. Carbohydrates provide a source of immediate energy, and these are broken down to produce ATP during cellularization. Lipids are important for our energy stores, and these are also required for cell membranes, hormones, and vitamins. Amino acids are required for protein synthesis. Our body can make 11 of them. However, 9 out of the 20 must be included in the diet, as our body can not actually physically make them. And then vitamins and minerals are required in small amounts for cellular processes, and also including making enzymes. However, minerals are also a major constituent of the structure and can be important components of body fluids, and some of those we will look at, such as calcium. So digestion is a process in which we break down food into a form that can be used by an organism for metabolism. And metabolism, if you haven't heard that word before, is just the word in which we use to describe all the chemical reactions that occur within our body. Our digestive system does break down organic food molecules into molecules that are small enough to be able to pass through cell membranes, and also into cells for the production of energy. And this process does require both physical and chemical digestion. The physical digestion is the first step in the process, and its main aim is to increase the surface area of food for enzymes to work on, and large food must be broken into pieces. So the tooth structure of many mammals is adapted for the mechanical breakdown of different types of food, but bile is also one of the other ways that we can physically digest our food. And this is important for the physical breakdown of fats. And we'll look more closely into the tooth structure of a variety of mammals based on the diet in which they have. And then there's chemical digestion, in which we break apart complex molecules into simple molecules. And this is carried out by enzymes. There are 3 types of digestive enzymes: amylases, which act on carbohydrates, proteases, which act on proteins, and lipases, which act on lipids. And the pH of the digestive system, because of these enzymes, does differ in different parts, and this allows these enzymes to function optimally, which we did cover in module 1. So there are several things which make up a digestive system, and the digestive system of any animal must adequately meet their nutritional requirements, as this allows them to maintain any of the normal functions that they may carry out at both the cell, tissue, organ, and system level. So they must have an effective mechanism of capturing and handling their food. There must be an appropriate physical breakdown of the food. There must be a one-way gut with separation of tasks along its length. There must be efficient transport and storage of ingested food. There must be a way to efficiently release digestive enzymes. There must be a surface that is adequate enough for maximum absorption of nutrients and water. And then there must be a process of efficient egestion of unwanted materials. So here we can see 3 examples just in mammals alone of how their digestive systems differ, and it is based on their diet. We can see that in the top picture, the structure of their teeth and how it differs. We see a dingo with the large incisors, so those really large pointy teeth, almost the canines you might call them. And we can see that their other teeth are they're really pointy and therefore tearing of the meat that they eat. And then we know that cows eat a lot of grass. So we can see that their teeth are large at the back, but also are quite flat. And that's because they need to grind down the grass as they eat it. And we can see there that the size of the stomach is much different to the size of the stomach in the dingo. And we can see the length of the small and large intestine is also quite different. And then we have humans, where we don't really have large incisors, but we don't have the flat teeth compared to cows. And then our digestive system is quite simple, quite short, not as long as the dingo, but definitely not as large as the cows. So carnivores are obviously animals that only eat meat, and they have their strong jaws for biting and teeth that are specialized for tearing. So if we go back here, we can see that they're quite sharp to do that. They do spend much less time within their day eating compared to herbivores, and animal matter is quicker and more efficient to digest. Their systems generally are shorter and more simpler than herbivores, and there has no cecum, which we do see in cows right at the middle there. And then all enzymes are produced within the system. And herbivores are animals that only eat meat. They do have to consume a large amount of plant matter to meet their energy requirements because the grass and plant material that they're eating does not actually provide them with a lot of energy. So, therefore, they must spend much of their time during the day eating. They're constantly chewing as it breaks down the cellulose to increase the surface area for enzyme action later on in the digestive system. Their teeth, as we saw before, are usually flat for grinding and crushing. They do have the longer system, which increases the surface area for absorption, and they require much more specialized enzymes and even some microorganisms to digest all their food. We do here have a type of digestion known as fermentation, and this is the breakdown of cellulose anaerobically, which means it does not require oxygen. For hindgut fermenters, so they occur in the cecum or the first part of the large intestine. So hind is near the end, and it's located after the small intestine, which is a bit of a disadvantage as the products of digestion are not completely absorbed, as it happens quite late in the process. So which it results in large amounts of undigested materials in the feces. One way which animals do overcome this is by coprophagy, which is reingesting their feces, which is often done by rabbits. And then on the flip side, we can have foregut fermenters, in which their fermentation chamber is located just before their stomach. This allows the food to be regurgitated, as we know cows, and they ruminate, which allows the food to further break down physically, and then it returns to the rumen for chemical breakdown. This is advantageous as absorption can occur along the entire length of the small intestine. However, it does take a long time for the digestion to occur. Here we can see different types of fermenters. We see that wombats and koalas are hindgut fermenters. So, and we know that because they have quite a large and a long, large intestine. However, kangaroos are foregut fermenters. We can see that by them having quite a large stomach there. Also back to the hindgut fermenters, we can see their cecum, which comes off at the end of that small intestine. Human digestive system is a little different as we're considered omnivorous, which means we have different teeth and foods in our diets compared to the ones we've already talked about. It's proportionally longer than that of a carnivore, but shorter than that of a herbivore. We do have quite a few different parts that make up our digestive system. So we have our mouth, which is the mechanical breakdown of food, but also we have the saliva and the amylase to digest starch. Our epiglottis is the little flap that covers both our trachea and our respiratory tract. And then it allows food to not actually enter the trachea and our respiratory tract. Our esophagus is the tube in which connects to our stomach, and the way in which the food moves down is by peristalsis, which is muscular contractions which occur along the esophagus. Our stomach is responsible for lots of gastric juices which aid in food digestion. Again, we see peristalsis continuing to move and break down the food as it pushes it through the system. Our liver is not part of the main digestive system, but it does regulate our metabolism. It's responsible for moving any toxins and processing our nutrients. It does, however, play an important role in storing excess glucose, and it stores it as glycogen, which we can use later. Our liver also produces bile, which we learnt earlier is important for fat digestion. Our gallbladder stores and concentrates bile. Our pancreas produces our digestive enzymes as well as our insulin and glucagon, which regulates our glucose levels in our body. Our small intestine is mainly responsible for absorbing nutrients and minerals, and it does have many blood vessels there which allow it to link to the circulatory system. And our large intestine absorbs water, and undigested food leaves the body through this intestine. We did read that our small intestine is the main organ of absorption, and we can see that this occurs because of the microvilli, which do line the small intestine. These microvilli does include and increase the large surface area over which our food and our nutrients can be absorbed, but it's also mainly responsible for absorbing lots of our water, and then facilitating a diffusion of any of the nutrients which we'd like to absorb for our body. Our food and energy, if it's not used, it does have to be stored in our body to meet any nutritional and energy needs later on when food might not be available. However, we only have a limited capacity to store it in the form of glycogen and store our carbohydrates. However, our capacity for storage in fat tissue is unlimited, which is why we see fat tissue build up over time when our energy input, so the amount of eating that we do, is much greater than our energy output, so our usage. And our basal metabolic rate is the amount of energy that we require to maintain all our functions. So we do need to make sure that we do have our energy input meeting our energy output. So here we do have two examples of some malfunctions of the digestive system. So one is celiac disease, in which the villi of the small intestine are damaged in response to gluten. They can repair themselves as long as individuals follow a gluten-free diet. And then liver disease, which can occur through alcohol poisoning. And this causes the liver cells to be damaged, which means that they accumulate and lots of the substances accumulate as fat. And this causes the cells to die, and therefore the liver cannot carry out its normal function. That concludes part 2 of the heterotroph series. Make sure you tune in for part 3.